Hare Krishna. Thank you, Bhakti Mataji, Nakshi Mohini, and Vishwanath Prabhu for guiding us with chanting this morning. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Right, let's start with prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll continue with our prayer. Jiva Jago, anybody would like to sing today?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I can give it a try, sorry.
Hari Bol. Yes, Mataji, nice, please.
Jiva jago, Gaura chanda bole, Kota netra chayo maya, Pisachira kole, Bhajibo bolia aise, Samsara bhitare, भूलिया रोहिले तुमी अविद्यारा भारे जीव जागो गौरा चंद बोले তোমারে লইতে আমি হইনু অবতারা আমি বিনা বন্ধু আরা কে আছে তোমারা এনেছি অসিথে মায়া নাসিবার লাগি হরি নাম মহামন্ত্র লাও তুমি মাগি ভক্তি বিনোদা প্রভু চরণে পরিয়া সেই হরি নাম মন্ত্র লইলো মাগিয়া জীব জাগো গয়া চন্দ্র বলে কোটা নেত্র যায় মায়া পিসাচিরা কোলে হরে কৃষ্ণ Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Very nice, Mataji. Shri Anodaya Kirtan ki jai, Shri Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you for your courage and your service for singing this. Okay. Anybody else would like to read the translation?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, please.
Lord Gauranga is calling. Wake up, sleeping souls. Wake up, sleeping souls. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya? You have forgotten the way of devotional service and are lost in the world of birth and death. I have descended just to save you. Other than myself, you have no friend in this world. I have brought the medicine that will wipe out the disease of illusion from which you are suffering. Take this Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I fall at the Lord's feet, having taken this Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Mataji. Anything you would like to share from this prayer that you like?
This prayer is very beautiful, Prabhuji, and very close to my heart. Whole
you.
prayer is beautiful. Actually, I particularly like the fourth point where they're saying that um, the importance of Mahamantra. That when we take Mahamantra, when we chant Mahamantra carefully, so this is like medicine, which help us to survive from the illusion of this Maya. So yeah, we should always chant carefully, attentively. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Arti Mataji. Yeah, like Prabhupada, we discussed in the past, Prabhupada says chanting is the medicine, and then diet is the service. Service is diet, prasadam is diet. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Right, let's continue with Prabhupada Lilamrit, chapter 61. So yes, just like Gaurachandra came to distribute this, Prabhupada also came to distribute this in the parampara to all the Western devotees in the US, Canada, and Europe. So yesterday we were seeing Prabhupada's emphasis on books and how he was translating, and again, like we said, this medicine that Prabhupada came to distribute, so many initial devotees were attracted just by the simplicity of chanting and prasadam. And so it was like all these young initial devotees were there. Actually, yesterday I came across, I don't know if Google has become so smart that it understands what we read every day. But in my feed yesterday in YouTube, I came across interview podcast by His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj, who's the compiler of this Prabhupada Lilamrit. So he was talking. I just heard some bits and pieces of it, but yeah, he was like Prabhupada yesterday was sent a letter to him in Boston. So he was also mentioning in that podcast that initially when his name was Steve, and like Prabhupada was saying, you have to utilize everything in the service of the Lord. So he was working in the government welfare department, and he was about to leave his job, or he actually resigned from his job. And then Prabhupada said, "Oh, why did you resign?" Because he was helping initially with financial contribution, and he was a typist, so he used to type so much. So like yesterday Prabhupada was saying, we have to use everything in Krishna's service. Like Rupa Goswami says, any material thing can be used in Krishna's service. We picked up phone, typewriters, even airplanes, like Prabhupada was saying. So yeah, he was just, I remember hearing that one past time. He was saying that Prabhupada gave him a lot to type. First he gave him a little bit, then he gave him a little more. Then he finished those typing, and he came back to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, I can give you more. He said, "Yeah, sure." He said, I have so much that I can give you for the whole life, for the whole lifetime." So, yeah, it was funny that he was remembering that. And then, yeah, like he used to bring mangoes for Srila Prabhupada in the morning, just as a gesture of love. And he said Prabhupada remembered that, that service that he did. For many days, he used to bring mango because Prabhupada said in India, mango is the king of fruits. But here we don't get mango. Then he went to a store. He said, "No, I thought I've seen mango here." So he went to one store and he used to get a mango from the freezer of that department store, and then he used to take one mango every day for Prabhupada. And some of other Prabhupada's disciples started laughing, and Prabhupada says, "No, this is love and Krishna consciousness." So anyway, so he was mentioning that, when Prabhupada was about to leave in 1977, November, in Vrindavan, he was remembering so this was 1966 to 67 time frame. So after 10 years also, Prabhupada remembered all those small services that each devotee did. And he said, Prabhupada specifically remembered the mangoes that I used to bring for him every day. And some other devotees also, he would remember what services they used to do, 10, 12 years ago. So like that. Everything can be utilized in Krishna's service. It's even a tiny small gesture. Okay, so let's continue. We read up to the self-realization yesterday. So yes, the theme is Prabhupada's writing these books, Krishna book, Nectar of Devotion. And let's continue from here. Prabhupada, anybody else would like to read? Okay, then I'll continue. Prabhupada fretted while his manuscript for Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which was to have been printed at the same time as the Gita, met with delays at Dai Nippon Press in Japan. When the printers reported that the book would not be completed until next year, Prabhupada again thought of his own press. Discussing his ideas with disciples, asking their opinions, he could see their lack of expertise and lack of money. Another cause for concern was the backlog of unpublished Srimad Bhagavatam manuscripts. Prabhupada considered Srimad Bhagavatam his primary work, his life's masterpiece. The lack of definite plans to publish it discouraged him and diminished his enthusiasm. He had vastly ambitious plans to flood the world with Krishna conscious books, and he would be satisfied with nothing less. So, in January 1969, while daily experiencing the most productive period of book writing in his life, he nevertheless expressed feelings of anxiety and disappointment over the unpublished Srimad Bhagavatam manuscripts. In writing to Brahmananda, Prabhupada explained that his life was dedicated to publishing the Bhagavatam and that, despite having hundreds of assistants and being in a wealthy country, he wasn't able to do what he had accomplished single handedly in India. One thing that I beg to bring to your notice about the printing of my books. In 1954, I left my home, and for 5 years I lived as a vanaprastha here and there. And then in 1959, I took sannyas. Of course, even when I was a householder, I was publishing Back to Godhead since 1947. But then my spiritual master dictated that I should take to writing books, which will be a permanent affair. So, after my acceptance of sannyas, I began working on Srimad Bhagavatam, and when the first canto was finished, with great difficulty, I published the first volume in 1962. After leaving my home and after taking sannyas and spending whatever cash money I had with me during the 5 years of staying alone, practically in 1960s I was penniless. Therefore, I had to quickly take to publication of the first volume, and after that, I got some money just enough to pull on. In this way, I published the second volume in 1963 and the third volume in 1965. Then I began to think of coming to your country, and somehow or other I was brought here. Now, since I have come, I have been unable to publish the fourth volume of Srimad Bhagavatam, but with your help and assistance, since 1965, this one book only has been published. And I do not know what this Dai Nippon company is doing. Anyway, I am very much anxious for getting my books published. The manuscripts which I presently have may be converted into 8 different books of the same size, which I generally publish, 400 pages. But I do not know how I will get them published. Whatever is done is done. I am now very much serious about printing my books. There may be 3 sources for their printing. One source is that if the Macmillan Company is interested to publish my books, that will be a great relief. I do not mind for the profit concerned, but I want to see them published. Another source is if Macmillan isn't interested, we can get them printed by Dai Nippon. But the delaying procedure of this company in Japan is not very encouraging. Therefore, the next step would be to start our own press. I require to have 8 books published and on the price of $6,000, which is charged by Dai Nippon. I will require about $50,000 immediately. Selling or not selling, I want to see that these books published. This is my ambition. Prabhupada decided to restrict his weekly temple visits to Sundays. For the devotees, Sunday became the high point of the week. Sunday was the focal point of the devotees' preaching because all week they would invite people to the weekly festival, and all week Tamal Krishna would consult with Prabhupada about the feast menu or the observance of various Vaishnava holidays. Prabhupada also suggested plays the devotees could perform. When Prabhupada would arrive on Sunday, everyone would be waiting for him outside the temple, and they would begin singing and dancing as Prabhupada's car pulled up. As soon as he stepped out of the car, devotees garlanded him. Beside the temple hall was a little room to hear Prabhupada talk about Krishna or single out devotees and ask how they were doing. He was like a king among adoring subjects, a father of a family of 60 sons and daughters. The atmosphere of the Sunday program was festive. More guests were coming than ever before in any of Prabhupada's other temples. The devotees so enthusiastically invited new people that gradually the Sunday feast attendance rose to 200. Leaving his little room, Prabhupada would enter the temple hall, where he would lead the singing, accompanied by the devotees and guests. On one such occasion, during the kirtan, Prabhupada began to dance in a large circle
Krishna,
around the room.
Krishna.
moving slowly, majestically, his arms raised, inducing everyone to join. As he walked and danced, the devotees and guests lined up and followed behind him. He stopped in front of each picture on the wall and danced with a side to side step, his arms upraised, robes swaying. Then he continued circumambulating the room. Among the guests that Sunday sat two old ladies in wooden chairs in the back of the room. When Prabhupada came before them, they were smiling and nodding, enjoying the show. But Prabhupada looked at them, raised his hands in the air, and called, stand up, and dance. And they arose, started dancing, and followed him all around the room. After the kirtan, Prabhupada would sit and watch the devotees play Narada and the Hunter, or Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Nrsimhadev, or he would watch Vishnu Jana's puppet show. Then he would join the devotees for the Sunday feast. Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada would eat with the devotees in the temple room at every feast. He would instruct us to first feed all the children. He said children should be fed first. Then we would all take. Later, after we would finish eating in front of him, he would instruct, give him more of this and more of that. I would always sit toward the front. Then he would distribute his Maha plate. Shilavati. Devotees would line up along the steps and the walkway to Prabhupada's car. Prabhupada would come out and he would be smiling. All the devotees would bow down and then kneel as he came by, and he would put his hand on everyone's head as he went by. Everyone was just waiting for Srila Prabhupada to touch their head. And if he would miss someone when he went by, then that person would run around and get at the end of the line somehow or other so that Srila Prabhupada would touch your head. He knew what was going on. He was just smiling, and sometimes he would just make a point to touch everyone's head as he went by, and sometimes he would only touch 2 or 3 people in the whole line. It was just a game that we all played. Then he would get into the car, and everyone would just converge on the car. Then after he left, everyone had something to say like, did you see him do this? And did you hear him say this? Everyone was so happy about Srila Prabhupada. We would always talk about him. He was the center of our lives. As a representative of the Los Angeles devotee community, Tamal Krishna visited Prabhupada daily. Prabhupada was especially interested in the Sankirtan party. The traveling chanting party Prabhupada had requested Tamal Krishna to form had been holding kirtans in the street of San Francisco and Seattle. Upon their arrival in Los Angeles, Prabhupada asked them to stay as a part of the new Los Angeles Center. Now, every day, more than 30 devotees were going downtown, distributing back to Godheads and chanting for 8 hours. Besides organizing the daily Sankirtan, Tamal Krishna also maintained relations with the police and city authorities. It was a success. Los Angeles was leading ISKCON in this new Sankirtan practice, and repeatedly Prabhupada stressed this as the most important function of ISKCON. Because Tamal Krishna was Prabhupada's man for organizing the devotees, Prabhupada carefully trained him in managing. Sometimes Prabhupada would show Tamal Krishna a letter he had received, asking for his response. Tamal Krishna would suggest a reply. Then Prabhupada would explain the particular answer this letter required. Prabhupada usually ate his lunch alone, but one day he invited Tamal Krishna to have lunch with him. When the prasadam was served, Tamal Krishna asked, how should we eat, Prabhupada? Which thing should we eat first? In eating, Prabhupada replied, there is no hard and fast rule. But Tamal Krishna watched his spiritual master take prasadam, knowing there was an art to it. Whatever Prabhupada would eat, Tamal Krishna would also eat, bite by bite. Prabhupada encouraged him to eat to his full satisfaction. After eating and washing, Prabhupada said, now let us talk a little. The printers in Japan, he explained, had agreed to take a contract for printing back to Godhead on the condition that ISKCON order a minimum of 20,000 magazines a month. They are first-class printers, Prabhupada said, so you just give me a guarantee. I want you to take 5,000 magazines a month for Los Angeles. If you do, then I will arrange for San Francisco, New York, and London to each take 5,000. You just give me this guarantee. Immediately, Tamal Krishna promised Prabhupada to distribute 5,000 magazines a month. It was an important moment. Now, Prabhupada said, I can take the initiative to print such a big order. Otherwise, I could not do it. On another of Tamal Krishna's daily visits, he showed Prabhupada the painting just completed by Muralidhar, a new devotee. The picture showed the spiritual sky and its spiritual planets, with the material world in one corner. Prabhupada liked the painting. Referring to the painting, he explained to Tamal Krishna the plan of the total creation. Krishna, he began, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is situated in the topmost planet, Krishna Loka. Around Krishna Loka are innumerable spiritual planets, residences of the four-handed Narayan, expansions of the Lord. The planets are all situated in the unlimited effulgence of the Brahman sky. which is actually the effulgence of Krishna's body. And in one tiny corner of the sky exists the entire material world. The material world emanates from Lord Krishna's expansion, Mahavishnu, who lives in the causal ocean, emanating innumerable material universes from his breathing and from the pores of his body. Within each universe, Mahavishnu then further expands as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, who generates the planets within the universe. The Earth planet is situated in the middle planetary system and, in comparison to the entire universe, is as insignificant as a speck of dust. And yet, on this speck of dust, there are 7 continents, Prabhupada continued to explain, directing Tamal Krishna's attention to the painting. And out of all these different continents, Prabhupada said, there is America. And even within America, there are so many cities. And one of those cities is Los Angeles. So here in Los Angeles also there are many places. And then out of them, one of them is our temple. And in this temple, there is Tamal Krishna. And he is thinking that he is very, very important. Tamal Krishna was startled. Prabhupada looked at him and simply smiled. In Los Angeles, Govinda Dasi continued as Prabhupada's secretary, with Upendra, his servant, giving him massage and cooking for him. Govinda Dasi's husband, Gaurasundara, had reluctantly left to open a center in Hawaii. It had begun with Prabhupada talking about Hawaii as a very likely place for a temple. He then prodded Gaurasundara day after day until finally he agreed to go there and preach. Now, Prabhupada was suggesting that Govinda Dasi join her husband. She preferred, however, to remain with Prabhupada as secretary. She had been with him for over a year. But Prabhupada insisted that she go. From New York, Purushottam had written asking to come and serve Prabhupada, and Prabhupada had consented. When Prabhupada had written the letter asking Purushottam to come, he had given it to Tamal Krishna, saying, "You would better mail this. Don't give it to Govindasi. She may refuse to mail it." Govindadasi wanted to stay, but Prabhupada ordered her, "You must leave. You must live with your husband. That will make you happy. You will never be happy staying aloof from one another. You must go there." So after weeks of procrastinating, Govindadasi reluctantly left her cherished service and went to join her husband. Already inconvenienced by Gaurasundara's departure, Prabhupada was now further inconvenienced by the loss of his trained secretary, but he wanted new centers. Rendering personal service as secretary or servant was not a very important function, he said, but to go somewhere in the world and preach Krishna consciousness required a divine spirit, and whoever had this opportunity should take it as the greatest blessing from Krishna. Then Upendra received a prison sentence for a previous drug conviction years ago, before he had joined Prabhupada. At first, the sentence was 3 months, but then it was reduced to 1 month in the county jail. When the day to leave came, Upendra packed his bag and went in to say goodbye to Prabhupada. Oh, Prabhupada smiled. "You are going now?" "Yes, Prabhupada," Upendra said with a broken voice. Then he asked, "Prabhupada, will you please chant one round with me?" Prabhupada looked at him steadily and said, "You should know that I am always chanting with you." Upendra began to cry and Prabhupada reached over, patting his back and ruffling his hair. "No, don't be afraid," Prabhupada assured him. "It is Krishna's mercy. They will think you are a pious boy and let you go out after a few days. Go on now, chant Hare Krishna and be happy." Upendra took heart and left for jail. After 10 days, he was released and returned to Prabhupada's personal service. At this time, Prabhupada began speaking to Upendra about preaching in Australia. A devotee in New York had written Prabhupada about starting a center in Australia, mentioning Upendra's name. At first, Upendra was dead set against it, but Prabhupada smiled gently and said, "Yes, I think you should go." "But I'm doing your cooking," Upendra protested. "Oh, anyone can cook," Prabhupada replied. "You were doing better service in Seattle." "You are not joking then?" Upendra asked. No, Prabhupada wasn't joking, and Upendra left for Australia. Thus, Prabhupada gradually depleted his own personal staff in Los Angeles, but he continued to use the Los Angeles temple as a stage of introducing new, important aspects of Krishna consciousness. One such precedent had been the downtown chanting party. Another was full-scale deity worship in the temple. It was in Los Angeles at this time the devotees began a full-day schedule of aartis and offerings of prasadam to the deities, just as in the great Vaishnava temples of India. Srila Jiva Goswami, a great scholar and follower of Lord Chaitanya's teachings, had written that although chanting Hare Krishna was sufficient in itself for going back to Godhead, because people in the present age are restless, they should also worship the deity for purification. Since the deity worship involved sewing dresses for the deities, decorating and cleaning the deity's altar, and cooking for the deities, Prabhupada turned to some of his women disciples who seemed particularly inclined. One of them was Shilavati. She was older than most of the other women and had joined the Krishna consciousness movement with her two sons. When Prabhupada saw her eagerness to help him establish the deity worship, he asked her to come to his apartment, where he explained to her the system of worshipping the deity with 6 daily artis. The first arti, Mangala Arati, should be held 1.5 hours before sunrise, where the deities must first be awakened, then offered milk, sweets, and fruit, and then at Arati, consecutively offered burning incense, burning camphor, water in a conch shell, a clean handkerchief, a fragrant flower, a yak tail whisk, and a peacock feather fan. The devotee offering the articles was the pujari. The pujari would ring a bell in his left hand while offering each object with his right hand, moving the article in clockwise circle before the deities. Okay, let's pause here with the deities. As Prabhupada said, this is the purification in this age. Or Shiva Goswami is saying that. But yeah, wonderful reading. So many things from today's reading, which were kind of the laying, the foundation laying of many of the practices that we do even today, right? In terms of deity worship, in terms of prashadam distribution, and like Prabhupada was saying, first the kids or children should be fed first. So that's what we do at our center also, right? We make our kids eat first. And yeah, how Prabhupada is giving this example of humility to Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Actually, I was laughing because that same example His Grace Anutama Prabhu was sharing when he was here during Kartik, when we had the home program at Ajay Prabhu's house. He gave the exact same example, same thing. So I was just remembering that how in this whole creation, material world is just one tiny corner, and in that you have these continents, in that one country, America, and so many cities, in that one city, LA, and then you have so many buildings, and one temple is ours, one building is ours. In that one building, one Tamal Krishna is thinking is so important. So that was the teaching of how to remain humble, that we are nobody in this creation of the Lord. Even though we may become very advanced, so-called advanced, even in the path of bhakti, we should always remain humble, because humility, he says, dainya, is the first qualification for Sharanagati, to develop love of Godhead, to be able to chant the holy names, because Nam Prabhu, I was also reading in one of articles, Guru Maharaj saying that Nam Prabhu only reveals to them. Again, that's why we say that this mercy that we have of chanting the holy name in the Brahma Muhurta is actually a mercy. It is not available for everybody. Right? So just the fact that we are able to rise early in the morning, sit steadily, calmly at our homes here in America and chant the holy names is a big time mercy of Krishna. Like Prabhupada was giving the example here, that it's Krishna's mercy to Upendra, right? Everything that comes in our life is Krishna's mercy. So there is this wonderful story, right, where where this king and the minister is so absorbed in devotional service that he tells the king that everything is Krishna's mercy. So once the king, when he goes for hunting, and he cuts his thumb, and then when he comes back and he tells the minister says, "Oh, it's Krishna's mercy." And then the king is so infuriated, he's angry that with his minister that I have cut my finger, and he's saying that this is Lord's mercy. What kind of minister is this? He orders his servants to put the minister into jail, and when he goes into jail, also he says, "Oh, it's Krishna's mercy." Anyway, so that happens, and then the king again goes out next time for hunting, and then he's captured by some dacoits or some people in the jungle, and he's gone alone this time. So, and they're about to give his body in sacrifice. But then when his body is bathed, and then when they see the leader of that tribe in the jungle, they see that his finger is cut, and because his finger is cut, he cannot be offered as a sacrifice. So they leave him. So then when he comes back to his palace, then he calls his minister, and he says, he thanks him that you see, because so he basically talks to him, and then he says that this thing happened, and then I was let go. So then he says, "See, this is Krishna's mercy, and this happened because his finger was cut." So he realizes his mistake, that because his finger was cut, his life was spared. But then he asked his minister, so what happened? Why did you say that, putting you into jail was also Krishna's mercy? Then he explains that, so usually whenever you go for hunting, I am always accompanying you. But today, because I was in jail, I could not accompany you. So if I was there with you today, instead of your bali, they would have given my body as a bali, my sacrifice, because I was there with you. But today, since I was not there with you, I was in jail. So luckily, I also escaped. So that is why it's Krishna's mercy. So like that, this story reminds us of what Prabhupada is telling Upendra here. And luckily, he comes back in 10 days. So everything that happens is Krishna's mercy. Yeah, and Satsvarup Maharaj, he, like Prabhupada is talking about books again here. So he, in that podcast that I was referring to earlier, he was mentioning the same thing, that Prabhupada encouraged all his disciples. Actually, somebody asked Prabhupada, you have written so many books. Would you like us to? Because Satsvarup Maharaj is a very scholarly person. He used to be a writer before. And in that podcast, he was mentioning that, he had written so many things. Actually, he said, I don't remember, 100 or 200 articles, poems, everything. And, after meeting Prabhupada, he just felt like this is all Maya. And, and he said he took it and he just dumped it into fire and everything. And then when he came back and I think he told Hayagriva or somebody, Hayagriva, and then he was very upset. Why did you do that? So he just, like, it have taken him months or years of his writing and everything, he just dumped it into fire. And that those days there was no backup, right? There was no no Google Cloud storage or you know backup of any of those documents or any of his writings. But anyway, so but now then he said that Prabhupada told him to write. So even today he is 86 years now and still going strong. And he in that podcast when we there was he has written like. So this Prabhupada Leelamrit, of course, is not his work, right? He compiled it with inputs from so many other devotees. Um, Many devotees have contributed to sharing these articles and pastimes, and then of course he has gathered everything and compiled it. But GBC gave him this task because he was an author. And um, so he has written, after Prabhupada Lilamrit, it was mentioned that he has written 13 more books just on Prabhupada. So there's so much to glorify Prabhupada. And he said, still it is not, he says, I can write still more, many, many more books. And he's continuing to write even today because that is a service that he wants to do. And Prabhupada told him to do. And he was saying that all disciples of Prabhupada, you know, were encouraged by Prabhupada to write books. He said, in Ana Parampara, everybody has written books. So that's why we see today also, devotees continuing to write books, whether they're Prabhupada disciples or the grand disciples of Prabhupada. And yeah, the spirit is continuing. But yeah, at one point he was saying, as a message to everybody, like the young generation right now and the future generations, is to find your niche. He was saying, like, find your contribution that gives you utmost happiness, and then just do it. I think it was he was paraphrasing, was quoting another Swami. I think it was Sridhar Swami Maharaj. But he was saying that was kind of his advice to all the devotees, that you find what you really like to do, what brings you joy in Krishna consciousness. That is actually something similar. I heard Radhanath Maharaj also said something similar once to, I think, Vaisheshika Prabhu, because Vaisheshika Prabhu was getting overwhelmed with so much of services and everything, and Radhanath Swami Maharaj told him that you find one or two things that give you utmost joy in Krishna consciousness. Just do those. Everything else is just details, right? So like that. So there's so many services. Um, somebody is good at painting. Actually, Satsuru Maharaj also saying he had also one picture of Prabhupada. Besides writing, he said, there was one point in his life where he was so obsessed with painting, and he was not a professional painter, but he became so good at it just by practicing. So he has done a lot of illustrations also. So like that. So again, his service, he's saying, is just writing. He said, till until my last breath, I will continue to write. So he has written like how many? More than 200 books, I think. So it's just amazing, incredible. Hmm. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything? Adi Guru Prabhu, Anandini Gopika Mataji. Okay, I'm busy. Yes, anybody else would like to say anything? Meenu Mataji, anything that relates to you? in terms of how we do our services at the center.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Adi. Anandini Mataji.
Sorry. Both the phones are with me, so that's the reason. Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing such nice anecdotes and the story. I remember reading it with the children also, the story that you mentioned. We did a presentation on that. But this is very true that, at the end of the day, you have to do what inspires you the most in Krishna consciousness and keep doing that. So, because this is not like a short-term commitment that we have. We are going to do this life after life, and we need to do something that interests us now, and then we will be able to do something that needs to be done, and that will be of interest, if that makes sense. We'll develop the interest gradually, but in order to, that is why I think we have such beautiful variety in Krishna consciousness. We have prasad cooking, we have, services, chanting, hearing, whatever someone wants to do, there is something for them. Even in our, like, I can see, like, I am able to connect with so many devotees just through my medical background and help them. So there is something for everything in Krishna consciousness, and that's the beauty of how you can use everything in the service of Krishna. So thank you for sharing that. I totally, relate to it.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, it is so nice. And I was actually talking yesterday, I think Shuchita Garg, one of the doctors, she messaged me yesterday after a long time. She used to join our evening readings.
Okay.
And I know recently I had not seen her for a long, so I had messaged her during New Year's. Hope everything is going all right. And then yeah, she just texted back yesterday. So, and she was mentioning that she's doing the Gita reading with Adi Guru Prabhu. So that's wonderful. That's so nice. On Tuesdays, I think you have an MD doctors group. So that is nice.
Yeah, Prabhu is doing that. Basically, it's based on Think Gita. Vishwanath Prabhu also pitches in when Adi Guru Prabhu can do it. So yeah, they both take care of it. It's doing great. They're really doing well. It's really nice.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, even wherever, like you said, yeah, wherever we are able to contribute, and like that reminded me also of the qualities of Vaishnava, the 26 qualities. We're in year 2026. Actually, I was reading Qualities of a Devotee, a book by kind of a compilation of lectures by Guru Maharaj yesterday, and in that he was talking about all the qualities, and then he was mentioning how we don't have to endeavor for these qualities, right? It's if we are sincere, we do devotion service, sadhana bhakti properly, then these qualities automatically get revealed, right? So we automatically start developing some of these qualities just by reading the pastime, reading the qualities of the devotees of the Lord. We will start developing those qualities. Similarly, I think all these talents and skills that we have, if we continue to utilize them, and like you were saying, eventually as time passes, Krishna will give us his mercy, and maybe we'll be able to diversify and do many other things that maybe at this point today we are not able to do. So we just have to stay on the path. Yeah. Thank you, Anandini Gopika Mataji. Okay, all right, at 6:40, so we'll pause here. Thank you so much for your kind association this morning on the Japa Sangha. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। जगतगुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद लीलामृत की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल।
Thanks, Prabhuji. Have a great day, everyone. Hare Krishna.